Hey guys, it's Pat. Welcome back to the next episode of the Hollow Down Cigar Lounge. You can see right off the bat, we got our homie Chad up here.
How you doing?
And we have brought back Greg Free. Greg Free's back with Fortaleza y Libre cigars. We'll mention why he's back. But how are you doing, Greg? Second time on the show. How's your day going, my friend?
Oh, day's going great. You know, it's fun to have a show that's being taped at this time of the day because it gives you kind of an early ending to my day. So I was looking forward to it the whole day. Got a lot of work. You speed your day up to make it all happen, and then you have the whole rest of the night to yourself.
Hey, I'm glad we could inadvertently help a little bit.
Exactly.
Well, I know you're smoking. That's my fault because I wanted to ramble my lips a little bit. But what we're smoking, and we'll come back to this in a minute, it's Fortaleza y Libre cigar. Of course, we've got you on. We did this on purpose because we wanted to give you a chance to talk about this GMFF stick right here. So I'm not going to say much about it just yet, but I am going to cut and light because I'm ready to try this. So I know you're smoking, but I wanted to get going and kind of just run my mouth to say hello to everybody for a minute. Yeah, let's see. Mine didn't show. Let's see if it'll let Chad see. So it's just a clean straight band. I'll let Greg talk about things here in just a minute, but yeah, we're gonna get going. But before we jump into that, I know Chad had we kind of mentioned this pre-air, but I know Chad had the luxury of running into you at PCA, but you said you've been a busy man. I'm curious what all you've been doing since we've gotten to run into you a few months at the beginning of the year.
Wow. Well, I tell you, PCA was great for a number of reasons. I guess the biggest one was it was the first year I had my own booth, so I wasn't part of the Boutique Cigar Association Pavilion. I had my own booth. I was the only booth facing the food court, which turned out to be the best thing ever because I met a lot of new shops that saw myself being interviewed, saw customers come out of placing orders, but had never heard of me. So, I had 6 different shops come up and say, "Hey, I've never heard of you. Tell me your story," because it seems like everybody wants to talk to you. So it was an ideal location in the end. The other big deal is I picked up my 100th store, which it's in the Cincinnati, Ohio area, called Leaf to Ash. And we did an event there 2 weeks ago. I think it's about 2 weeks ago. Did an event there in Cincinnati. And we also did my old Kentucky Herf the weekend of that week. So after the Cincinnati event. And then it's just been, placing orders, picking up more shops, just busy as usual. And the next month is more of the same.
Well, that sounds like a good level of busy when you actually hitting milestones and got things planned.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'll be in Costa Rica. I'll be in Pennsylvania for an event. I'll be back to another part of Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, for the Pittsburgh Cigar Crawl, which is basically a bus full of smokers going from lounge to lounge.
That sounds fun.
It's just crazy. And then to Atlanta towards the end of the month.
And being busy is a good thing. Yeah, and congrats on the 100th store. I know any milestone's a pretty big endeavor, so congrats on that note itself.
Yeah, that's
Thank
huge.
you. Yeah, thank you.
So saying I've been following you on Instagram, and you've been crazy busy. So every time I turn around, you're posting from a new event you're doing, which is great for you and your company because that means you're getting the word out there, and people are starting to smoke more of your cigars. So
it's a relationship business, If I'm not in front of the customers, I'm not going to sell cigars. So I've got to be out there and front and center. And we call it DBAD, don't be a dick, and you can sell cigars. Which just
I love that.
Got to get out there.
I told I ran into you. You mentioned this, Pat. I ran into Greg at PCA actually more than once. I met him on the first night at the opening party, and then we saw each other for sure at the on the showroom floor. And I was fortunate enough to get a GMFF from him, which he gave me. And then I told him at the show, I don't know if you remember this, Greg, but I'm like, I'll wait to smoke it until after the show because I want to smoke it with Pat. Well, that didn't work out very well. The thing kept staring at me, and I was like, I can't take it anymore. So I smoked it. And then so I sent Pat a text the other day. I was like, I have a confession to make.
Okay.
I've already smoked the GMFF, so I'm sorry and forgive me. So I'm weak.
Yeah, it's
Oh wow.
better to ask for forgiveness than permission
Right,
sometimes.
right. He would have
Yeah,
told me no for sure. So yes, you're right about that.
but speaking of hashtags and GMFF, when we had you on early at the beginning of the year, you kind of teased about this cigar. But since we are purposely doing this, go ahead and tell us again what the cigar is, and then just kind of give us information about it and what's your purpose, because now we can actually talk about it a little bit more openly.
Yeah, so officially it's an undisclosed blend, but on your show I'll tell you what it is. And
Oh,
the
all
idea,
right.
yeah, the idea for this blend was to do something that was very unique to the line. So it's our first introduction of Pennsylvania filler, and it's a combination of Pennsylvania and also first generation Cuban seed, the Criollo 98 hybrid, but grown in the DR. So it's a Dominican and Pennsylvania blend in the filler. There's a leaf or two of Lajero. I'm not going to give you the exact ratios of that Cuban seed.
Yeah.
The binder is also that Cuban seed, and the wrapper is Ecuadorian Corojo. So you have a wrapper
Mm.
we've never used, you've got a size that we've never come out with, and then you've got that introduction of first generation Cuban seed plus Pennsylvania. And my family, both of my parents grew up in central Pennsylvania in Williamsport, Montoursville area. So, kind of going back to the roots of tobacco in Pennsylvania and getting that in a cigar was really important to me.
Hey, you said
Awesome.
a new size. It's a Toro, but is this more of a 6 by 50 ish? Is that what that
It's
feels
more of
like?
a Corona or Lonsdale, I
Or it's
think.
I'm not sure exactly. What,
So, it's funny, we deal with translation issues constantly in the factory because I'm not from the Dominican Republic and everyone in the factory lives there. And it was supposed to be released in a 6.5 by 42 Lonsdale.
okay.
And when we got the first batch in, they were 6 inches. So we've since gotten the new batch and they're 6.5. The great thing is we didn't create boxes for it. It's a product
Right.
you can't buy. It's just a product that I hand out at events. So it was a happy mistake. No big deal. So it's really supposed to be a Lonsdale. That's it's a little bit skinnier and a little bit longer than a Toro. So the one I'm smoking is a, let me see. Yeah, it's a 6.5. So
So,
that's a 6 inch Toro next to it, and this is the Lonsdale.
and if I'm
So
not, yeah. So I know the one that I got from you. I've had it for several months. So I think I must have got one of the first ones from you because it's definitely a little. It looks like it's a flat six. So maybe I got one of the original ones from you that wasn't.
yep, yeah, you
Okay.
probably did, and
That's
that
probably what
makes
I'm
sense.
smoking now
Yeah,
then too.
yeah. I don't think the new order came in until right before PCA with the longer one. So I'll be passing them
Okay.
out. What I'm doing is I'm bringing a couple bundles of the 6.5 and a couple bundles of the 6 to events and let people choose which one they want.
Okay.
Most people want the longer one. Apparently, that last half inch is what's really important.
Yeah.
Hey.
That's so they're both the same ring gauge though, right, Greg? They're both 42 ring gauge.
Correct.
Yeah. Which I really like that ring gauge. Corona Lonsdale, I like in there.
You can
Hmm.
definitely tell my eyeball measurement was a little bit off today, but that's okay.
Well, it's difficult. It's kind of like when we first came out with the Bodacious, our very first release. There was a Habana wrapper and a Ecuadorian Maduro wrapper, and if you didn't have them next to each other, sometimes you didn't know which one was which. So we quickly put a secondary band on there, and the same thing happens if you don't have a Toro next to you, which is why I had to look at one and be like, "Well, is this 6 inches or is it 6.5?"
Yep. Like it's easy to tell a Corona to a Gordo, but you start getting close enough to the lines. Yeah, it's a little. We made a joke on the show several shows back that sometimes the only way you can tell the difference is which tooth you line it up by, but
Hmm.
sometimes they get a little tough to see.
I don't remember that. That's
Ironically,
funny.
somehow I got that right. We made some joke trying to figure out. I don't remember even what cigar it was. It was like, man, is this a 52 or a 50? And I was like, well, it depends on if you put it on your second tooth of your canine. And I said some arbitrary number, and then we looked it up, and it turned out to be correct. So, you know,
Well, lots of education going on the show today.
right?
We
Man,
try
but
to not do that. That's not our bailiwick. We're
right.
always trying to learn.
It's usually going the other way. We're usually learning
Right.
something that makes us look stupid. Like, hey, added knowledge to the noggin today.
Yeah, I
For
still,
sure.
I think on the last time I was on the show, I was at about 50% of what I needed to know to be a brand owner. I think I'm up to 55% now. So
Hey,
I'm learning
Hey,
every day.
yep,
I had a 2 hour education with Luciano of Luciano Cigars.
yeah,
And it was in Kentucky, and he just happened to sit down next to me, and he didn't have a cigar. And I gave him my Sun Country. He absolutely fell in love with it. He bought all of the Sun Countries
fantastic.
out of the humidor to take with him. Like he loved it.
wow.
So it was good to hear, someone like Luciano, showing me some respect. He did a really cool thing. This was my education. He the Sun Countries. It was a Corona, and he smoked about
Okay.
an inch and a half down, and then he took a guillotine cutter and he just cut off the wrapper like a half an inch back. So just the wrapper. So just kind of a cool little cut, peels the wrapper off, and then keeps smoking it. So now he's smoking the binder and the filler. And then he gets to
Huh.
that point and he does it again. And this time he cuts it through to the binder, pulls off the binder and the wrapper. And now he's smoking just the filler.
Huh.
Then he got down to a third of the cigar, and keep in mind, Luciano started in the farming business. He was growing tobacco for 16 years before he ever came out with his cigars. So he's a cigar nut, especially a tobacco nut. Uh,
Right.
so when he got to the final third, he said, "Do you mind if I tear it apart?" And I said, "I don't care." So he took a knife and he just sliced down, the top edge of the cigar, opened it up, separated each type of tobacco that was in there. There's a little leaf of Mexican San Andreas. That one stands out. It's darker. And then he's like, pulls out some Seco, which is part of the binder, and then some of the filler. And he lays it all around the ashtray. And then he takes each of those leaves and he rolls them up really tight and just lights them and tastes them. And he's telling me more about my tobacco than I probably even knew because he's a guru. So it was just a really
That's awesome.
yeah, really cool experience. And I had some questions that people had asked me that I didn't know the answers to. So I was able to pick his brain. And, it's just a constant education. It's hundreds of years of culture. And
Right.
I'm not going to be around 100 years, so I'm certainly not going to learn it all.
That,
Yeah, to you, that's a great compliment because I know as on the last show we talked about Sun Country specifically being one of your blends, right? Is that correct?
Yeah,
And so for him to take a liking to that probably really made you feel good, right? I mean, would me.
absolutely. Yeah. And he forced his East Coast sales director. I think that's his title. I hope I don't get it wrong. He forced him to smoke one. The guy was like, I'm already smoking this. And he goes, well, you're going to smoke this one. You can either smoke them together or you can put the other one down, but you're going to smoke this. And that guy called a shop that I visited one time, but they don't carry my cigars. And he told her that she has to carry that cigar. So that was pretty cool. And then there's another cigar lounge and bar in Cincinnati that store owner was there. And Luciano said, smoke this cigar and tell me why you're not carrying his entire line. So, there's some cool people in this business. And, I've been fortunate to just accidentally sit down in the right place and
Yeah.
talk to one of these people that, even more inspiring than when I first started. Because I know more now, so it's easier to hear what they're saying and pick up the nuance that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a crazy good story. And we've talked about that in the past about how in the cigar industry itself, it constantly see it's not like a competition in the way that other companies compete. They're constantly helping one another. Like not all companies, but for your example is a great example of that right there, where you have a successful brand owner and you're a newer brand owner, newish, and he's trying to help you along in any way he can by pushing your cigar on someone else or he loves your cigar. Maybe he's going to start telling people about it or more people about your line, which is great. It's a great thing.
Yeah, it's a cool business. I would say 95% of brand owners are going to help you when they can. We don't really view it as a competition. because the more people that are smoking cigars, the more we're going to sell. It doesn't matter who's selling them or what cigars they're
Right.
smoking.
Yep, indeed.
For sure.
Well, I want to see, Chad. We've now that we've gone a little bit. I'm curious if my palate is accurate today because I don't short review on this one. I'm not getting a lot of any strong pepper, but I'm getting to me it feels like more of a woody, maybe a cedary, but leather mix, and there's like this just touch of like sprinkle of a little bit of spice that I can't put my finger on. But to me it's a very pleasant, more of an elegant blend than it is a punch. I like it a lot.
It
I would
almost
agree.
reminds me of a whiskey spice, like when I inhale,
Oh,
that's what I'm on my retro. I'm tasting almost like what whiskey would leave on the back of your palate.
okay.
And it's definitely it's not a full strength cigar. It's a medium at best for me. But there's just a lot of really cool flavor, and a lot of it is coming from the Corojo. I'm sorry, from the Criollo 98, which is really that seed is, from my perspective, especially if it's grown in Cubas, it's very floral and fieldish.
All right.
But then the Pennsylvania is bringing this rich earthiness to it. So, and I get, you talked about spice, I get baking spices. So it's more on the retro to me. It's not like a barbecue spice. It's like cloves, and I don't taste cloves specifically, but that line of spices
Yeah,
that
Right.
you
cinnamon,
associate
nutmeg,
more, yeah,
Yeah, I could
and
vibe with that.
and definitely a woodiness.
for sure. It's a
Yeah,
great cigar. The first one I smoked was awesome. I didn't tell Pat anything about it though.
right. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know. I'm glad you didn't tell me because I wanted to see. And yeah, you can definitely pull the wood out. Like I can't always pull out what type of wood we're talking about, but maybe with that baking spice, it definitely feels more like of a cedarish type, like a brighter wood. So, but I
Mhm.
like it a lot. And this is coming from a guy that usually likes the dark. I'm not as Justin on our show is a pepper bomb nut. I'm not quite that far, but I do like the darker with some spices and pepper. Um, I love this, and sometimes I get cigars that don't have that punch that on my palate it feels like it's just kind of washing away, and this one doesn't. It seems like it's blending very well for me. Very enjoyable.
Thank you. Yeah, you're also getting a lot of that the leatheriness from the Corojo, and the wrapper being Corojo is giving you a lot of that. That's also a little bit of the woodsiness too. But I tell you, I'm inspired by the best Corojo in the industry. I think is Aladino. This is
I
just
love Aladino.
just my personal opinion. They grow their own Corojo, so and
Okay.
they've been doing it for a long time, long before they had cigars. So they know what they're doing, and I'm pretty sure that they've hybridized their Corojo a little bit to be ideal in the growing conditions there. And I'll never compare to it, but I wanted to use a Corojo, and so I did in its
Right.
Ecuadorian. So, it tastes good. It's not going to be an Aladino Corojo Maduro Reserva, which is like, oh my god, it's such an amazing cigar. But it's a Corojo, and I do enjoy that profile that comes from those leaves.
I've just
Chad,
recently been introduced to Aladino, and I really,
about to
really
say,
like their cigars.
Yeah.
I was just about to say you got into him, and I hadn't smoked any. He sent me a few, and I've still got one or two left. But the ones I've smoked so far have been pretty dang smooth, and I don't recall ever smoking them before. Here the last month or two.
Yeah,
They're top shelf too.
and they're a small brand, but with a great family of tobacco growers that's backing them. So they have history in the industry. So it's easy for them to take off if they produce a great cigar, which is what they've done. So it's a great success story.
Yeah, I like their Cameroon offerings too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
So, you said this on the previous show, um, but in case somebody hasn't seen the show, remind everybody because I know this answer for once. Where does the name from this come from? Because I love it.
Oh, for the GMFF.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the official business front name is Good Morning Fortaleza Fans. But the reality is, my ex wife called me something one day, and it just kind of stuck. And I was in a business meeting. The brother of the owner of the company was in the board meeting, and he had it out for me because I was really tight with the big owner, his half brother, and it was just a really crappy meeting. He was just crapping all over me. And I came home and I told my ex-wife, my wife at the time, I said, he was just giving me hell. And she said, "Doesn't he know you're Greg motherfucking Free?" And I think she regretted saying that the moment she said it, and that probably was the start of the end of our marriage. Because for the next 5 years, that's all I told her. Whatever she tried to talk me out of, so I'm like, "Don't you know I'm Greg motherfucking Free?"
Don't you know who you're talking to?
Right.
Yeah. And so I had to eventually come out with a cigar called that.
That's an
I like
amazing
it.
story.
Yeah, anytime you get good little tidbits like that, it's always fun to know.
Yeah, it's a fun one. I mean, I'm not that guy that just thinks he's Greg motherfucking Free, but just the background of the story is just so
Right.
cool.
And it's always it makes things better when you have a fun story like that, to throw at it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I like a good story in bourbon too. You read the back of the bottle, and it's just like a really cool kind of beginning story. Like, how did it all start? Where did it start? And it makes me inspired to want to try something that I've never tried just based on that background story.
Yeah,
Well,
some of the best
not
brands out there have a great storyline. I think that's
absolutely.
great to follow along with.
Well, while we're on the notion of Greg motherfucking Free, let's talk about something badass he's doing for us. So, been a friend of the show for a little bit, and we do our Cigars for Warrior drive twice a year, and our summer drive is coming up about the time that this is going to hit YouTube. You'll start seeing about it. And for those of you who are coming across for the first time, I always specify these details. We are partnered with Cigars for Warriors. Since we're an online presence, we don't have a brick and mortar for somebody to just drop by, drop sticks. So we do a couple drives every year where everybody in the Hall Down family will send us cigars that we hold. We do it for about 6 weeks, and then we send one whole package to CFW from our group as a whole. And we've done this a couple times, and Greg is stepping up for us this time. We like to do a kickback giveaway. So if you donate X number of cigars to the cause, we're going to just set it at 20 cigars this time. So if you donate 20 cigars or lighters or a combination thereof, then you get an entry into the drive. And at the end of the donation period, me and Chad will spin the wheel live on the show and figure out who's going to get it. And what you're seeing right now is everything that Greg sent to us. So you've got Fortaleza Libre shirt, you've got his cutter, you've got his original coin, which was, as he says, was one of his original business cards. And you'll see you've got a lineup of Intimidadors and then a spread of 3 or 4 other blends so you can try them out. So you're whoever wins that drive is going to get this little package from Greg. So much love for you sponsoring this one for us, Greg. Much appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, Cigars for Warriors, what a great organization. Stogies for Servicemen is another one that I donate to. But anyone that's going to help out, whether it's first responders or even doctors and nurses, but people that are prior military or currently serving, they deserve to smoke a great stick and celebrate their success in our military. So I'm happy to be a part of it.
And I left out the fact that you went ahead and sent us extra cigars to donate to CFW to the drive itself as well. So you're already helping on that front with us too. So
yeah, and I sent the Intimidador because it's a red, white, and blue band. I thought that would go over well.
And that, I mean, I think I told you when we talked about colors the first time. That's one of the things that I think that was the first FYL cigar that I'd actually lit up, and it was the band that caught my attention. So, red, white, and blue, it sticks out to anybody that's got half an ounce of any patriotism, even if you're not doing it on purpose. It just pulls. So I like that. That's a smart move.
Greg, did you happen to meet Storm when you were at PCA?
I've met him before. This was the busiest show I've had. I literally didn't have a free moment to wander the floor. The one
Yeah,
time,
I get that.
yeah, the one time I did wander, and plus I was all the way at one end. So for me
Mm.
to get to the other end, it was like 3/4 of a mile.
It was literally a half a mile, Pat.
Yeah,
It's
Oh,
crazy.
yeah, it was
Nuts.
so
long and
so
skinny.
that
So
so the center that they put, they actually got it filled up. That whole thing, is that what happened? The the event space where it was at, or was it broke? Was it just that one space filled up, or did they have it like broken up into?
Oh no, it was one big long event space.
yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't the entire convention center, but it was, I think, 3 or 4 halls.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And I'm going to say they're 100 feet deep, and then it was probably a half a mile long. It was insane. There were
That's
hundreds of
crazy.
companies there, and there were 100 companies there I've never heard of. You know, me included. Because a lot of people are probably like, I've never heard of that guy. He's one of those
Who's
100
this
companies.
guy?
Yeah, who's this guy? So it was. I just couldn't leave the booth. I was very fortunate to have friends in the influencer world like you guys. That are taking up my time doing interviews on the floor. And that was really what drew a lot of new customers to me, was just, again, seeing me there. They're all there at lunch from 11 to 2. That place was packed. And just to have people walk up between customers and interviews and just be like, I've never heard of you. Tell me your story. So I was very fortunate, but I did not get to walk the floor.
It's like you had the
Yeah.
prime real estate spot right in front of all the food.
I thought it was the worst. When I saw it, I was like, oh, this is not good. And interestingly enough, PCA just sent me an email. It's time for me to pick my booth for next year because it's a point system, and so they call you when it's your turn.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be picking mine a lot earlier this year than I did this past year. I think I didn't pick my booth until February because I thought I would be in the BCA pavilion, and then that ultimately went away. So
Oh, yeah.
there were only like 10 booths left. So I didn't have a lot of choices, and I picked one that I thought would be really cool. But when I got there, it was facing the food court, and it was the only cigar brand facing the food court. So what I like to envision was that I was in the engine of the train because everybody else was behind. So from
Yeah.
my perspective, everybody was following me to success. So with
There
that
you go.
mindset, I went in there and I just, you have a positive mindset, positive things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about that a few times, man.
Yeah, you and I
More,
had talked at PCA, and I mentioned that because I had heard that you kind of were bummed out at first. Somebody had told me that, like, man, Greg's flipped around facing the food court, and then when I saw you, you're like, no, it's been the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a similar thing happen at another festival at a chain of shops in New York. I won't mention their name because it sounded like a bad thing, but I had sent cigars and they were supposed to be in the grab bags for all the participants for this event. And when I got there, they were at my table. So all these bundles of cigars were at my table, and I was really frustrated. I'm like, man, they were supposed to go in the bags, and in the end, it meant that every single customer had to come and talk to me.
Right.
true.
Whereas all the other companies, their cigars were in the bag, and you didn't have to go to a table to get your cigar from them. You already had it. But for me, everybody had to come to my table, and it turned out to be a happy mistake. Loved it.
Yep. Yeah, you get to talk about your brand. I mean, everybody walks up, you get to explain to them a little bit, tell them about the blends. It's a great
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yep. Yeah. So it really,
Customer interaction.
yeah, in the end, it worked out really well. And I think that this business for me has been a lot of those happy mistakes, from the Second Wind, the box press that we have, me sending Second Wind to the band factory and then creating artwork that said Segundo Viento. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It'll be in Spanish. And then I sent that band to the box factory, and then they translated it back into English. So the boxes say Second Wind, the band say Segundo Viento. So everyone's learning Spanish. It's my little Spanish lesson for everybody.
True.
It's like Rosetta Stone in cigar world.
Exactly.
I was looking in the our giveaway package to make sure, but we've got turns out that there's 7 of the Intimidadors in there, and then there's one of the Segundo Vientos, the Avalanche, and the Bushwhacker Habano are the extra ones. So I like that Second Wind. So
So just to be clear, and I think 20 is the good number for an entry, but just so the viewers know, is it one spot per 20, which is what I I think it should be. If you donate more, you should get an extra spot, right?
Yeah,
Like,
so I was, we do it a little different each time, just for fun. And the last time we did, you donated X amount, you got one entry. But this one, I think that's a great idea. So um, every 20 per that you donate, you're going to get one entry. So if you donate 80 cigars, you're going to get 4 entries into it this time.
right. That's only
And
fair.
one counts for you know every cigar, every lighter, every cutter, and if you send cash, there's a cash equivalent as well. So every 40, because some people just like to send cash and let us get them cigars. If you want to do that, every $40 worth will count for 20 cigars, and we base that on the fact that we can get some cheaper budget smokes if you want to do it that way. But yeah, I think it's a good idea. So every 20 count worth will get you an additional entry.
Yeah, and the last time, just to bring that up again, you brought up a good point about, and that was the first drive that we've done where we actually included things other than cigars. So,
Correct.
Amazon is a fantastic place to buy. You can get a dozen cutters for like $12.
Hmm.
And these guys over here just don't have cutters. So a $1 cutter is way better than no cutter.
Right.
And then same thing for you can get torches. We send them over there empty, obviously, but they'll have to work on getting their own butane. But same thing, you can get, 8 torches for 12, $15. And they're actually pretty good because when I bought mine last year, I tested one out. I think I actually used it on a show.
It's this one.
And is it that you got one there? Okay, so
So, well, it's the same one that you bought when I went on my cruise because I had to fly back. So I didn't want to take my good
you bought
lighter
some
just
cheap
in case.
ones.
And
Yeah.
it's the same lighter that you sent. It's just longer, and there was like 5 of them for like $8.
Because the
And
head rotates. The
yeah,
head
head
rotates.
rotates.
Yeah, it was
And,
like 5 of them for
and it's
$9 or something.
fantastic. It's actually a pretty dang good lighter, surprisingly.
Right.
So,
So keep that in mind, everyone who's watching. It doesn't have to be cigars, and I'd almost, I think they, almost prefer because they're so cigar heavy that some of that stuff does come in. That helps them out, right? So,
right, it does.
uh, for sure. And last time we got 500 cigars, Greg. That was our
Yep.
largest drive yet.
Wow,
And we have a, we have a, go
Yeah,
ahead.
you were saying 20 cigars will get you a ticket, and I'm like, how many people are sending 20 cigars? That seems like a lot for someone to send, but you got 500 cigars, so that's a lot.
Yeah, we did, and I think we already have a Kickstarter. It would have been more, but Jay Bates, one of our members, missed the cutoff of the turn-in by I don't know a
Like
week or
it
something.
was like 3 days. I just
Yeah,
sent
and
back
he
the
sent like
job,
70
and then I had another
plus. He
70
sent
come
a
in.
giant bundle of cigars, so we already got a good kickstart on this one.
That's awesome. So, what's the deadline to get your cigars in?
So it starts officially June 1st, which about when this airs, and it's July 15th. So as long as I have them in by July 15th, we add everything up. And like Jay did this time, if they show up late, I keep them humidified and they go to the next draft so they don't disappear. And anybody wanting to donate, then you can either send an email down to the show notes. You can find us on Facebook. You can comment here, and we'll tell you where to send those to. Because
Is there a link on the website, Pat, or the business address on the website too?
no, but I should probably do that. That'd be a smart move.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm just so used to everybody messaging because of the community profile we have. Everybody just reaches out, so I just tell them. But that's probably not a bad idea to actually have
Yeah.
a donation address on there.
And now with the email mailer that you're sending out and all that, maybe just the info for shipping on there.
Not a bad idea. Because I just keep everything since we don't have that brick and mortar presence for our purpose. I keep everything stored, humidified, and packed up until it's time to turn it into one big old glorious package. So, but we pretty much do a 6-week drive every time. Try to start it. December and June is our 2 start points every year. It's turned out to be a good timing point for us. So, yeah. So June 1st, we got till July 15th to get them to us, and we'll send them out from there.
That's awesome. Well, I don't want to win a prize, but I've got these huge bins because I used to have a warehouse here in Virginia, but now all of my distribution is being handled by Illusione and Reno.
Right.
I have a huge humidified space, but I had been accumulating all these cigars, the special ones you don't smoke. You hold it for a special occasion, and then when does that ever happen? Do you smoke them? And now that I have my own brand, I don't smoke these older cigars. I'm always in the humidor looking for the latest and greatest thing to smoke. Somebody else's new thing that comes out. I want to try those.
Right.
But I've got two big bins, humidified bins, just full of these random cigars. So I will. I'll see if I can get a couple handfuls and throw them in a box for you.
Yeah.
That'd be great. We truly appreciate it, Greg.
And we've had a couple other people that have sent us stuff and specifically told us like, hey, I don't want to be in the donation. Here's just some good sticks. So,
Yeah.
And like me and Chad are always going to put stuff in there, but we exclude ourselves as channel moderators. Obviously, we're not going to win anything, but we still put cigars in there. So, it gives us a pretty good turnout. When we first started this thing, I think our first drive was like 17 cigars because we didn't know how to handle this from a online only endeavor. And every time it keeps going up. And last time we had almost as many cigars as we do, people in the group. And it's just because we're a small group. So it's
Right. I think we had the drive before that, we had 400. So in one calendar year, we collected 900 cigars.
Yeah.
That's
pretty
awesome.
good for a little channel like we are. I mean, that's
I'm thrilled with
I'm
it.
proud. I'm proud of it.
How do you get those to the guys? Do you hand deliver? Do you ship?
So I ship them because, I've got the business here in Louisiana. It's where we're technically housed at, where they all come to, and their donation center is in Florida. So we just put the bill to shipping them. So everybody's shipping us stuff here, and then we package them up in 1 or 2 big boxes, whatever it takes, and we send them. I ship them the one big package because they do have their direct distribution center, and that is on their website for anybody that wants to send them stuff directly outside of our drives. You can find that on CFW's website as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we do is we just ship them to them as one big package so they get it as our whole deal at one shot.
Awesome. You guys are doing great stuff. You're definitely some good karma's got to be coming your way every 6 months when you're doing something so generous.
I was my knee kept me from overseas deploying, but I'm Marine Corps veteran too, so I appreciate a lot of my friends had better fortune than me, didn't get injured, so they got deployed, and hearing the stories from them coming back, and some of the best times that they ever had was in between, we'll just say, situations, getting to pull to the side and take a cigar break for the guys that enjoyed cigars and just relax and kind of decompress for a little bit. So, being able to help support that on the back end, and that was before CFW was kind of doing their thing like they are now. It was much harder to get your hands on some stuff, and being able to jump in with a group that actually helps facilitate that is a big move for us. So.
Yeah, I was impressed with. You told me the running count. I think last I don't know, last time we chatted about it, it was like 2.5 million. They keep a running count of cigars on their site.
We're gonna go update this right now because it's usually on their website. So I think it was like 1.5 or something. I think it was 1.5 last time. Let's see. Refresh. Yeah. So as of this recording, they have sent just over 1.7 million donated cigars.
Wow. That's amazing.
And I know they also need money for shipping. That's their greatest expense, shipping those individual packages. So if you can donate money to them, it's also a way to help spread cigars around. I mean, you think about if each of those cigars was $10, you're talking about over $10 million worth of cigars.
Right. Even if it was $5, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
it's an insane amount of money, which is awesome.
And, you kind of got a good mix because you see people bringing in the, we've had some Padron and Placencias and, your higher shelf stuff, but then you've also got some factory smokes and cheaper stuff. So you're kind of and anywhere in between. So you're getting just a good gambit of everything. So it's kind of cool for them because they may or may not know what's coming. It's kind of a surprise. Like, hey, what are we going to smoke today? And you got whatever you got sent. So it's kind of cool.
It just goes to show you like the point of the cause itself, right? Like The old theory of you don't have to do all of it. If a couple guys do a little bit, and that's how this
Yep.
works. Everybody just does a little bit, and then look at that number now.
Yeah, exactly.
It didn't
And
happen by 5 people doing it. It happened by hundreds of thousands of people donating cigars.
exactly. And that
So
teamwork on a literal global scale for
right.
something of this nature goes a long way. So I had a friend, a few years ago, tip me off to how they handled the cigars. I would always, drop them in the boxes in stores and stuff. And just on a whim, we reached out to, a couple of the guys that run it. I hadn't met Storm at that point, so I reached out to a couple of the other, regional guys, and they kind of linked up with us on how to handle this from an online group. And I'm glad we did, because it's something we could spend every show talking about if we wanted to. It's just something we believe in. It's big, and I know there's, like you said, there's other groups that do it as well. But the one that we chose to deal with, it's a good thing for us to be able to be, supportive of them as well.
Did you talk to Don? Is that one of the guys you talked to?
Paul was the first one I talked to.
Oh, Paul. Yeah, Paul. That's the one I'm thinking of, the big tall guy. And I met him at PCA, and he was a fantastic guy. I got his name mixed up, but he was a really nice guy. And I spent some time talking to him at his booth. I met Storm when we were at Manning's the one night for the after party.
Right.
And then
Storm is a really cool guy to
I
talk
went
to.
to the booth to see him, and he wasn't there, so I met Paul. And I actually saw Greg one night at Manning's too. He was up on the rooftop.
Yeah.
Did you went up there and set up on that balcony seating they
Mhm.
had up there? But that was a zoo that first night. It was crazy busy. I don't know how long you stayed, but
Yeah, I stayed too long every night. But that
yeah.
one was, it was so close. It was,
Hmm.
two
It
blocks from
was.
my hotel. So I had to go there. I wasn't gonna spend 10 hours on the floor standing up talking to people, and then hop in an Uber and waste an hour of my evening going
Yeah.
back and
Going
forth.
down to the quarter. We went there the last night because I really wanted to see Michael Herklots. I really enjoy his stuff, and I think he's a fantastic ambassador for the cigar community.
Hmm.
So I wanted to go to Michael's event, which was at Cuban Creations the last night. So
Hmm.
we did do that, but the first 2 nights we stayed right there and went to Manning's Friday night and Saturday night, and I liked the environment there, the atmosphere, and like you said, it was super close. You could walk. We stayed at the Hilton Riverside, so I'm not sure. Do you stay right there down by the casino too, somewhere in one of those hotels, Greg? Or
We were right across the street from you. We were at the Marriott.
okay, yeah. So it's same. I mean, it was a 5 minute walk to Manning's, so
Yep.
which was
Easy.
nice. And I really liked the fact that when we were down there, I felt safe. There was no issue, even like late at night, coming home at midnight, and no problems. So.
Yeah, it was awesome. And plus, I traveled with the old man, and he's going to be 81 this July, and he's not going to walk more than 3 blocks, especially after having 7 drinks.
Yeah, seven.
I got to be mindful of him, make sure he's okay.
Well, heck, just going up those steps to that balcony seating there, that must have been a chore because there was quite a few steps up those on that railing. I mean, it was a ways up.
Yeah, that was treacherous, but we survived another PCA. We picked up our 100th shop. All in all, just a great thing for us.
Hmm.
I love it. That's this is a show of good two things, talking about positive growth in CFW and positive growth in Fortaleza. So it's a
Now,
dang good
did you
day.
go last year, Greg? Were you at PCA last year?
Yeah, and the year before. So this was my third
Okay,
year. But the first 2 years, I did it in the BCA pavilion,
that's what you were saying. So
and
explain
it
a little bit
was
of that, what that is, because a lot of people don't know. I don't know what that is.
so the Boutique Cigar Association was founded when the FDA was trying to push cigarette regulation onto the premium cigar industry. So it was the Childhood Tobacco Protection Act was part of it, and basically the FDA just kind of capriciously just threw premium cigars in there, even though they weren't a part of the original law. And it turns out that a judge finally realized that hey, they can't create law at the FDA. They just have to follow the law as it's written by Congress, and so they threw it out. But the BCA was an organization that was built around having these small companies be recognized as part of this process, because it was really the big guys fighting the battle, and they were fighting it for the big guy problems that it was creating. But the truth is, it was hurting small companies way more because we didn't have the resources to do all the things that were required of these new
Get through the
regulations.
red tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big companies, they have accounting departments and legal departments and all.
Lawyers and
So Gabby Caffey, who's the founder and owner of Caffey 1901 Cigars, he's also a surgeon. So he comes from a medical background, and he went and lobbied along with the big guys. He went down to Congress and talked to the Cigar Caucus and created this boutique cigar association to give us a voice. And so that's kind of what the BCA was founded for. It turns out that that's over. We've done it. We won. The FDA is basically about. They're still trying to do
backed
new
off.
stuff.
Yep.
They're still trying to do new stuff. One of which is going to be really harmful, and that is trying to actually send people to other countries to look at factories and make them follow U.S. rules for manufacturing, and that could potentially be really bad for small factories, especially. So we're still fighting a bit of a battle, but I think the BCA is going to be morphing into an organization that's more educational, that's going to help smaller companies get the information they need to follow the law as it exists, but also to grow your business. How to market, how to do sales, how to set prices, and I think that's kind of the direction we're headed. So I'm actually on the board of the BCA. I've been on the board for I think 15 or 16 months. But we're at this transition point where we really just need to decide, since we won the war, what can we do now to help businesses? And that's where we are.
Right. I'm sure you feel really fortunate too to have been grouped in with them because, like you said, the government doesn't give the small companies a lot of leeway, and the red tape you have to go through, especially starting a business and all those things. You're constantly learning, so to have to learn with a crutch is probably darn near impossible, with all the stuff that was going on during that time, right?
It was terrible. I'll give you one example. As part of this process, they wanted to put the cancer labels on all of the cigar boxes. So these big white labels that says warning, and then there were 7 different versions of that, and you had to send the FDA an image of what the box would look like because it had to cover a third of the box, and you had to send them a kind of a spreadsheet on how you would guarantee that if you sent an order of 7 boxes, 7 different lines to a shop in California, that they would get one of each of the messages on each of those.
Oh my gosh.
Jesus.
Now, at that time, I didn't have any boxes. I didn't even have cigars in the country, but I knew by the time I got them, that rule was going to take effect. So I spent a couple weeks, I was working a full-time job, creating these mock-up boxes, this vision of what I thought they would look like, and then a distribution plan, even though I wasn't selling to any shops. And I sent it, and the day after I sent it, a judge knocked that down and said that they can't require that. So, and I did that with 10 different things that I started following the rule, jumping through the hoop, and then the hoop gets taken away. So it was a mess. I picked the wrong time, but I was following my passion, and now it'll be 6 years in 8 days.
So there's a lot of wasted labor on your end preparing for these regulations that never even came to fruition, huh?
Yeah.
That's
I mean, it's crazy. There's the big thing for me was I had a lot of people that would answer my questions, but I didn't know what questions to ask. A lot of people in the industry, but even people in government. People say government's terrible, but if you don't know that there's a small business rep in every federal agency that you can call and ask questions, and they'll answer the phone, like there's real people there that want to help you. If you don't even know that exists, you're just flying by the seat of your pants. I worked in government contracting, so I knew more than probably some people that start their own business, which was helpful. But still, if you don't know the question to ask, you're never going to get the answer you need.
right. It's true.
Good point. Good point.
I'm glad the BCA has done some fantastic things. We've seen some policy updates throughout the last several years of things that were about to go south, and been able to step in. So it's good for this industry and our enjoyment as well that a group like that was created to kind of help some of those things, because I'm all for trying to kind of create ways to make sure that we're safe and healthy, but there's a point that you're just overreaching, and we were way beyond that point. So I'm
Yeah.
glad things have gotten settled to a degree and can keep educating. Hope I mean that's a good direction to go. You know, if you don't have an active, I mean, there's always a battle per se, but if you don't have an active battle you're fighting, you can keep up education and knowledge for the rest of the industry and the rest of the world to follow. So, and education is always a positive thing, no matter what.
Yeah, and following some of the social media organizations, there's the Canadian Cigar Association does a post every day, and Canada is just really coming hard at cigars. They just implemented
Hmm.
their plain packaging rules. They're basically trying to put every shop out of business. It's a mess up there, and to see what's happening there, and then just realize that if we weren't fighting the good fight down here, it would already be there.
Right.
And and the PCA is doing a great job of fighting that. Cigar Rights of America is doing a great job. The
Oh yeah.
BCA also, so look and see what's out there. And if it's in your area, like if you live in Connecticut, you better charge down to the state house right now and talk to your representative and tell them we don't want these new rules, because Connecticut is about to go the way of Canada.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's my favorite cause to support, the CRA, by the way. I like buying that pack.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
just buy several of them.
You're right.
It's
You-
a great buying experience for anybody who doesn't know about it, but this it's a phenomenal value. You get, well, I mean, they're like $190 typically, and there's easily $300 worth of value in those bags. So,
yeah, and
all going, all
all
going
those
for a good cause.
yeah, those cigars are all donated by those companies.
yep.
So it's they know that it's adding value to the industry to fight this fight, and so all that cash is going right to what Cigar Rights does.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good cause. I know Carlito has a lot to do with that CRA too.
Good stuff. Well, at the end of this cigar, I know this wasn't the super focus of the day. We wanted kind of an update on how things have been in the life of Greg Free lately, but he, it's like, I will tell you, uh, for an event only or a handout only type cigar, this is fantastic. I'm getting the same type of flavors that the spice has built up for me gradually, so it's kind of it's not like it's got this hard transition, but the flavor just keeps billowing. The smoke is great. I'm a huge fan. I'm jealous that Chad got to smoke one before me. Um,
Sorry, not
but
sorry.
you know, if you're talking about a cigar that you're going to hand out at events, you nailed this one for sure. I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, one
Thank
thing
you.
I have noticed here in the last, I don't know, I'm down to the band almost, but uh I'm I'm getting, you mentioned like anise, but it's more like for me, I have black licorice on the retro
Mm,
and standing on my tongue too. And I really like anything with any kind of black licorice notes. I love.
right.
This has been a great cigar for me.
And
The
Greg, you
second
had
time.
teased and said that when we were talking about your other bands coming off, that this one may not come off well. I got lucky; mine came off perfectly. So
I slid mine off the end just now.
Yeah, if you wait until it gets warm, I mean that glue it's heat activated. So just like any
right,
band, you should wait until the warmth of your cigar gets close to it. And
yep,
the risk there is that if it is tight, you wind up cracking your ash and it falls apart on you. But it's just one of those things. It's a band that was designed to be simplistic,
yep,
but because it's a flat paper, that glue sticks a lot better.
Yeah, you usually don't have a problem unless the person applying the glue gets a little happy that day and it kind of oozes over the edges and
right.
whatnot. If that happens, you're stuck no matter what. You're gonna have a bad experience getting your label off.
I have so many brands that I have problems with their bands. Just and I
Hmm.
and I'm very happy with the team that's putting our bands on at the factory. They do a great job. Whenever a
They
customer
do,
makes
they
a
do.
comment about it, I always send it right to the factory and let them know, hey, let them know they're doing a great job. Occasionally the one area I do occasionally, I probably one out of every 100 is where the band sticks to the cello. So
Mm.
the little bit
Right,
of glue, it's not on the wrapper, but then it grabs that band and
On the
it's
outside of the band, kind of.
yeah. So, and that's like 1 in 100. That's a problem. But other than that, they do incredible stuff.
and we're not naive. We don't expect it to be perfect. Everything in cigars, most cigars, and all your premium cigars are handmade at every step along the way. So we want you aim for perfection, but you're never going to get it. We are human creatures, so um, when you have somebody doing something good, as simple as the bands, that's something we're always going to throw kudos to, because somebody is spending time and labor to put their efforts to do it right, from the design down to the implementation of putting them on. So you have something like that that's being done right. It's a mark to bring up.
Yeah, to me, it's like your mom baking a pie or your grandma baking a pie versus going to a big shop, like a Walmart or a Costco or wherever, and you get one of their pies. Yeah, they're very
Right.
consistent, but they're never going to be that same joy you get from grandma's hands.
They're
Exactly.
consistently okay. That's what they are.
Consistently
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
That's what I say about the chain of Mexican restaurants here in my town. They're consistently okay. Like, they're never the best Mexican restaurant. They're not the worst. They're always consistently right there. Just okay. I know
One thing
exactly what I'm getting every time.
One thing I'm glad I live in the South is I don't have a problem of good, real, authentic Mexican food. It's
Yeah,
everywhere.
you've got way more access to that than I do.
We got
We do have some actual, Hispanic families that have moved up here and transplanted in our area, and they do a pretty good job, but that's not the chain I'm talking about. So, a
right.
yeah,
lot more
we're in
authentic.
we're in one of the largest Korean populations in the country here in
Mm,
Fairfax County, and we have incredible Korean restaurants. I mean, if
I
you like
bet.
Korean food, you would just go crazy here. From the hot pot restaurants to the Korean barbecue, they have all you can eat ones. They've got a la carte ones. And it's just it's an amazing place to be if you're a foodie, because
Yeah.
there's so many immigrants in the Washington D.C. area that the food here is authentic. And
fair.
How close to DC do you live? Like,
23 miles to the west.
so you're in Virginia?
Yep, I'm in Northern
Okay.
Virginia.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we have a
Fairfax.
friend in Fredericksburg,
Yep.
Okay.
one of our the OGs from the channel, Ryan. He lives in Fredericksburg. So
Yeah,
that's
it's about an hour from me.
is that farther north?
No, it's farther south. So
Oh,
Fredericksburg is due south from DC, and I'm due west. So I got to kind of angle myself heading east and south to get there. Pretty easy trip.
got it.
Yep. Yeah, he's one of our channel anchors, but he's been one hell of a busy man that we haven't been able to get him on. But he does, on top of his other work, he does a lot of ministry for a lot of disaster relief, and there's been a lot of that needed the last several months especially. So he's been a very busy
Seems
man.
like longer than that. Seems like the last year and a half, it's been
If
disaster after disaster he's been
Yeah,
going through.
you're probably more accurate, because it seems like every time we talk to him, he's either going to or planning to help somebody else. So,
Yeah, the guy's got a heart of gold.
hmm
That's awesome. And if you got the time to help, more power to you. Someday,
right,
Hmm.
someday I'll have the time to help. I waited till all my kids were out of the house before I started my cigar company because, once I started this, I knew it was just going to be on the road. I'm the busiest guy, I think, in the cigar industry in terms of travel. I'm on the road a lot.
Yeah.
so
Well,
you got
that's
to
good.
build
That
up.
means that you're moving stuff and you're getting in front of people and you're
Exactly.
making new acquaintances and selling lots of sticks. That's hopefully the goal, right?
That's the goal. Yep.
Well,
Some
Greg, we worst part of the show where we have to start slowing things down. But I'll tell you, this is one, appreciate the cigar, good event level cigar, something for everybody to look out for. And I love the updates. We like giving love where it's due. So hearing the good updates just in the last few months since we had you on last time talking about the PCA and your growth, massive kudos, because I know you're working your butt off getting these things done, but it's nice to hear that you're actually getting some of that growth on the back end. So, because on a personal level, even outside of the recording, I'm glad that I ran across your cigars a couple years ago when I did, because I smoke a lot of them. That Sun Country may still be my favorite as well. They're great sticks. So anytime I find them, I grab I grab several. So hopefully, I kind of hope this pack goes to somebody that has not tried your stuff yet. So that way they can they'll get 4 or 5 of these different ones to try, and then multiples of it. So maybe they can follow find the love that we've learned for them. So.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the goal. Doing events, it's all about just getting one person to try one cigar. I'm
Yep.
not looking for $1 million in sales, but if I can just get someone to try one, that's the goal. And if
Yep.
they like it, they're going to tell 2 friends and so on.
Or they're going to ask their local spot, hey, you got these? Can you get
Hmm.
these? Yep.
I know.
That's
I
how it
wish,
happens.
my as I've said multiple times, my favorite local shop is an hour away, and I've mentioned it a few times, but I'm hoping one day that you'll be able to slide in there too. So they've talked about reaching out. I don't think they have, but um, now that
And what shop?
they expanded the Tobacco Junction in East Texas, and they expanded doubled their humidor size. It's been about a year and a half ago now, and they've been gradually expanding. So I'm hoping, on a personal note, I hope that they get with you at some point. But
You
yeah,
I
probably
hope
have to
so.
nudge
I
them
hope so
again,
too.
Pat. You got to nudge them again.
I know,
What you got to do is pay 20 people. Just find 20 strangers, give them $20 a piece, and have them walk in and go, hey, do you guys carry Fortaleza Libre cigars?
right?
And then have the next guy go in about 2 days later, ask the same question. Have the next guy go in. After the guy hears it 20 times, he's going to be like, I need to look into this.
Yep,
Yes. So, and I've never paid people to do that, but I do tell people when I'm on a HERF, like if you want to help me, the best thing you can do is any shop you walk into, every single time you walk in, ask if they have me because
yep, yep,
I've gotten in shops where someone called me and said, "Hey, how do I place an order?" And I'm like, "Well, how did you hear about me?" They're like, "Well, 2 customers in 2 weeks came in and said they wanted your cigar, so I'm going to bring them in." It
yep.
doesn't take much.
Yep.
Word of mouth is one of the best tools in this world.
Hmm.
Yeah, even if somebody, goes with 3 different blends or whatever, they just getting your foot in the door is the
Yep.
important part.
Yep. Yeah, and we're not one of the big guys that tells them they've got to place. This is your minimum order. This is what you got to do to
Right.
get in.
Do you guys
We
have
offer.
that's a good point. Do you guys have a minimum order? What would that be, Greg, if you were a brick and mortar and you were watching?
Yeah, we don't have a minimum order. We suggest a minimum of 3 facings because we don't want to have just 1 or 2 boxes. You got to have some shelf presence. We have
Hmm.
7 lines now and 9 blends and
Mhm.
22 total facings. Our average first order is about $1,200. So it's
That's
usually about
really reasonable.
It's
Yeah,
usually it's usually 5 blends with a backup box of each one. So that's 10 boxes get you around 1,200, and you get 10% off on your first order as a new shop. And then I come out and do an event in like 6 to 8 weeks after you get that shipment in, and we sell cigars for you.
I like it.
That's great. That's good for people to know too.
I'll keep nudging every time I go over there. Eventually, we'll get there.
Yeah, eventually the bull does well in Texas, so they should
Hmm.
want to get
Yeah, I
that
would
bull out
think
there.
think that's the perfect market.
Agreed.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people think the business is based there. I'm like,
Yeah, you would think, oh, it might be a Texas-based
I mean,
business.
I
I
did.
thought that when I first saw it too.
Yeah, same. But well, Greg, it's been another good show having you on. We come to appreciate your camaraderie, your conversation. I know I have. So definitely, first 2 shows we did on purpose to smoke something with you. Going forward, we'll probably just find time to bring you on, smoke whatever, and just talk and update about life. So appreciate you being able to pull time and hang out with us for a little while. And y'all watching haven't picked up on Fortaleza Libre yet, y'all definitely should because you're missing out. So, and I say that when Greg is not in front of me still. So,
Absolutely.
good
thank you
stuff.
very much for having me on, guys. Always a good time, and always nice to sit down and smoke a cigar with people that aren't from Virginia. So it's great hanging out.
Right. So
All
keep
right.
keep going on, moving good things, and we'll look forward to the next update and some more good positive increases for you. So, well,
Awesome.
gents,
I'll see you.
y'all stay safe. Y'all have a great day. Keep smoking those cigars, and if y'all are watching, y'all know the drill. Stay safe and hollow down.
Take care. Thanks for coming on, Greg.